to the future. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Here we are making history. Higher than we've ever been. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready, get ready. Welcome to the future.
Hello, all. A very good morning to all of you. Good morning to the panelists who joined us for this event and the great audience watching us in the event Future of Campus, Role of Smart and Digital Classrooms by Elets Techno Media, Dell Technologies, Windows 10, and Knowledge Partner, Digital Learning Magazine. This event, this session, we will be discussing on a very important aspect in the current COVID-19 pandemic times when education sector has faced lots of challenges while institutions, schools, colleges, universities are not open yet, and still there is a challenge of continuing the studies of the students, the bright future of our country. And here, the role of digital and smart classrooms comes really well, and they are actually contributing so much into today's education ecosystem in current times. So the topic is burning, current, very relevant in these times to discuss the future of campus, role of smart and digital classrooms. And we have really great and eminent panelists who are great thought leaders in their sector. And I would like to introduce the panelists of this session, Professor Atul Khosla, founder and Vice Chancellor of Shoolini University, Professor Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor of ITM University Raipur, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Provost, Marwadi University Rajkot, Professor Dr. Parvinder Singh, Vice Chancellor of Rayat, Bahra University Mohali, Mr. Praveen Kumar, Field Marketing Leader in Client Solution Group, Dell Technologies, and Dr. Sayalee Gankar, Vice Chancellor, Dr. D.Y. Patil University, Pune. I am Karthik Sharma, Associate Editor of Elets of Digital Learning Magazine in Elets Techno Media Private Limited. I'll be moderating this session. It's a great opportunity for me to discuss and deliberate with these eminent thought leaders of the education sector on a very current topic of the role of smart and digital classrooms in the future of campus. So, to start with, I would request each panelist to please give some initial remarks in maximum couple of minutes, and then we will be coming to the next questions and answers in different second the supplementary questions, and we'll take up the further discussion. So, for initial remarks, first I would like to request Professor Atul Khosla, founder and vice chancellor of Shoolini University. Professor Khosla, I request you to please deliver your initial remarks. Okay, so I think we don't have Mr. Khosla here right now. I'll request Professor Dr. Vikas Singh, the Vice Chancellor of ITM University Raipur, to please start with initial remarks.
Thank you, Karthik, and thanks to Elets, for this wonderful opportunity. It's really a pleasure to be a part of such eminent panel. Uh, the topic is very relevant, and it's very important to discuss this aspect now. And why I'm saying this, because the change is there for all of us to see, and smart classrooms were there before the pandemic also, we were all using smart boards for last so many years. We have been using internet ready classrooms, uh, teachers using video links, uh, various, using PPTs and using all those links and web links and video links, in their presentations in the class. But the major change which has happened is that now, this also shows the resilience of higher education, that all institutions, all universities across the world, not only in India, they have very quickly graduated from physical classrooms to online classrooms. But in this process, what has happened, that every student has experienced this new kind of technology. So this technology has now become very critical. And why I'm saying this very critical, because students have been exposed to uh, Coursera programs, EDX programs, Udemy programs, SWAM programs, and they have now experienced some of the best technologies, some of the best uh, teachers, professors of higher education. I now believe the challenge is of a little, different in nature. We need to have the best technologies in our classroom. No, it's no more. You can pick and choose some. I now think that all good institutions, all higher education institutions, need to be technology driven, technology enabled. It's no more a matter of choosing and choice. Whether we would like to, whether we have financial resources, whether we have funds available for this transformation. But this is what our students are now going to expect. So it's very essential that all institutions invest good amount of money on making their campus, making their classroom technology enabled. Number one. Number two, I think, in addition to student experience, I think another important thing is, because those students would now require a different kind of engagement, they would require a different kind of teacher interaction. I think teachers training is also a very crucial area. The teachers, they have been using online lectures, online classes, but how far they have been successful in engaging those students, how far they have been successful in creating content, or how far the quality of those videos are so good that it can be referred later on, that they can record that video of the lecture, it can be put on the website of the institution, and so that students can go back and download it and can see it later. So there are certain things which require more thoughtful approach, more investment. We need to have studios, we need to have smart and better technologies in the classrooms, we need to have better trained teachers, we need to have more engaging LMS, more engaging ERP, where parents can get involved, where students can get involved. So I think fair and transparent assessment system would be the next requirement. I think there is so much to be achieved. We have just seen the starting of this technology driven approach. This is the beginning. I think next 4 5 years are going to be very interesting, very I would say changing as far as higher education is concerned. So I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to this change. We are going to see a whole lot of change in the delivery of higher education as far as use of technology and smart classrooms and smart campuses are concerned. These are my initial thoughts, Karthik, to start with.
Right, Dr. Vikas Singh, I think very well giving the remarks initially that how the smart classes and digital classrooms are taking place. Smart campus holds the promise of significant educational benefits, including customized learning tailored to each student's needs, as well as the ability to adjust the speed and control, the iterations to improve mastery of the subject. Students can be evaluated, feedback provided, and scientific hypothesis produced and tested. I think if they're tested using smart and digital classrooms. Through this discussion, we definitely aim to amplify this future of campus role of smart and digital classrooms, implementing it in harmony with the current education system. So,
Absolutely.
definitely. On these lines, I would like to now request the next speaker, For quick initial remarks, Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Provost of Marwadi University, Rajkot, for your initial remarks, sir, please.
Thank you, Karthik ji. Thank you, ELETS Digital Learning and also Dell Technologies for this initiative and opportunity. It's always
See, there is
good to
echo.
know new things.
There is much echo.
No, I think it's perfect at my side. I can hear it perfectly.
It's all right at my place also, if I'm not wrong. So I hope there is no problem. Okay. So my initial remarks would be that we are talking of digital and smart campuses. I would say digital is the foundation for the smart campuses. And why it is foundation for the smart campuses is because digital is a new way of life. There are basically, you can divide into two, analog and digital. And analog is out of vogue right now. And digital is in favor for everything else outside education also. Reasons are very obvious. Digital brings everything to a single format. It is very easy to store or archive, whatever. It is very easy to reproduce or correct. If you have done something already, you can possibly do that. Equally easy to distribute or disseminate the information. And obviously, it's very amenable for low-cost communication, which sometimes can be very high cost with the analog setup. So digital is going to be the new way of the world, not only education. And education cannot be separated from that. And that's why we are moving towards digital. But what will this digital do to us as has been expected or known, or at least last 1.5 years, we have been rigorously following, though we might not have liked it initially, is that everything is now in a new form. And what those new things can be there, for example, everything can be now linked to a university resource planning, URP kind of a thing, where all the activities which you need to do would be showcased or would be handled or would be controlled. For example, you might be doing from admissions to placement, everything will be part of that. Every approval, every leave, every classroom, every attendance, every note probably can be linked to that kind of a tool, meaning thereby we can integrate the learning management systems, we can integrate the attendances, we can allow the blended mode of teaching learning in that. We can also embed the examinations related stuff, and not only that conduct of examination, their history, their records, all they will have the traceability or will provide you the feedback. And that is the power digital technologies will give us, and that's why it's going to be the mainstay. But when we talk of the smartness or smart campus, I think the world changes a little bit. Digital will pave way for the smartness, agreed. But when we talk about the smartness, I think it comes with almost every aspect of our life. I'm sure most of you are already aware. We need not necessarily talk in great details what those elements would be. The smart elements really help us handle the common issues which might be there. A smart campus will have features which are related to the energy saving, energy production or reproduction or utilization. For example, a solar itself can be solar photovoltaic, which many of us are doing. Solar can also be solar heating, which again many of us are doing. But solar can also be solar steam for cooking and canteen and various other purposes, which not many of us are doing. Similarly, for water, we understand the water conservation in a certain way, and we probably water storage or something of that nature is what we are trying to do. But I think we need to understand water recycling, triple use of water, dual plumbing for water and all that. I think that will make the campus smart as far as the water is concerned. Similarly, when it comes to access, I think we can get rid of rudimentary practices of access control, attendances. Electronic devices and gadgets can do facial recognition, can do many other recognitions of other kinds, and therefore the access can be controlled, and so would be the aspects of security which would be required, that the traceability would be there. Similarly, you will be 24/7 connected in terms of your reach, your own reach, or people can reach you. So that would be the other thing which will be there with the smart campus. And similarly, as you know that sustainable development goals have something like 17 parameters. And if we look at that, most of those, possibly other than the fourth one, which is quality of education or quality education, would be related to the smart and digital nature of our functioning, and certainly within the campuses, because campuses themselves are mini towns or sometimes big towns also, depending upon the nature of campus. And therefore, they also need to maintain this requirement of SDGs. And therefore, digital and smart would be the future all of us are doing. To conclude, I'd like to say that I'm currently with the Marwadi University as a provost or a vice chancellor, and we have almost everything which is required in terms of process coming in an online digital format. I've been here for last 4 months, and I'm proud to tell you that I don't get a single file for consideration for approval or whatever. Everything is electronically reported. Sometimes even my incoming dark, etc., or post, etc., can also be reported to me if I wish in an electronic form. It need not come, and it will come very, very fast. And the traceability of all the messages, who has approved, who has seen, where it is, how it is, it's there. It's primarily because our group has some feature where they were wanting to be electronic some 15 years back in every aspect of their functioning. And that has trickled down to our Marwadi University also in terms of functioning. So I'm very proud to tell you that we are completely electronic and digital right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sancheti, Professor Sancheti. Great to know that Marwadi University is completely digitalizing its activities. I think it's a great example to be set in the country. I would now request, I think we have joined by Professor Atul Khosla, founder and Vice Chancellor of Shoolini University. Professor Atul, we are taking initial remarks to start with this discussion. Initial remarks of couple of minutes from each speaker. So I request you to please give your initial remarks on this topic, future of campus, role of smart and digital classrooms, so that after initial remarks, we'll have question and answers. Professor Atul, please.
Thank you, Karthik, and my truest apologies for coming a little late. I had some regulatory meeting and I just couldn't say no to that, so apologies for that. First of all, so lovely to see all of you, all the panelists and all the audience. So thank you, Elets, for the opportunity for being here today. Coming to the topic of technology and digital, I'll step back for a second, and I would like to spend a minute on the future university, the university of the future. And my belief is that, as we were discussing, the university of the future is going to be very, very different. And let me give my hypothesis towards that. The university of the past was what I used to call a big fat university. What was there in the big fat university? In the big fat university, you had huge infrastructure. So any university in the past would very proudly say we have 100 acres of or 1,000 acres of land, so many built up area. And you pick up the brochure of any university of the past, they're proud of the lovely red colored brick building or Ivy League building or whatever you want to call it. And that's how they were proud of. The university of the future, in my opinion, is not going to be a big fat university. It's going to be a dispersed university. And let me build my case for a second. Why were big fat universities like Oxford made? The reason was very simple: to create knowledge and for interaction. The only way to create knowledge and interact with people was to actually build large spaces where you could get them together. So you build huge townships where you got people together and created knowledge. All of this can today be done in a dispersed way. So I see the future university as a hub and spoke, a hub with lots of spokes, because infrastructure is also important. That's one. And at the center of all of that is going to be technology. So, how does the hub and the spoke talk to each other? How do you disperse education and learning across the people who are now dispersed across the world? Will be leveraging technology. So, if there's one thing I would like to mention over here, Karthik, is about the future of the university will be driven by technology. And I did a small survey over this where I spoke to more than 100 vice chancellors across the world and asked them, what do you think about technology? And pretty much everyone said that technology is critical. But did anyone say that technology is strategic? Probably not. And I believe technology is going to be one key critical thing for the university of the future. And I'll give one last example over here. The CEO of Starbucks globally is a very dear friend, and I started talking to him. And I asked him, how do you see the future of a coffee company like Starbucks? And he looked at me and said, Atul, are you serious? We are not a coffee company. I said, okay, what are you? Are you a retail company? He said, no, I'm not a retail company. So I asked him, what are you? Are you a beverages company? He said, no, I'm not a beverages company. And you know what he said? I am a technology company. And that's exactly the way universities have to start thinking. We have to start thinking that we are technology-driven organizations. And if we don't, trust me, in the next 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, when regulatory things sort of go by, we will become dinosaurs because our competition is not going to be amongst ourselves. Our competition is going to be with players who will play in the unregulated space, and they will leverage technology. You know, Karthik, which is the largest university in India today? It is not MIT. It is an entity which is probably 3 years old, and that is called Upgrad. Upgrad already is the largest university in India. And that is going to be the challenge for all of us sitting in this discussion today. How do we leverage technology to A, bring cost of education down dramatically, provide better education and learning to our students, and more dramatically and more importantly, scale up to numbers which India needs. So that's my first starting remark. We have done a huge amount of work at Shoolini. We've invested in the backbone, which is your broadband, giving devices to students, to every student, but that's hygiene. The most critical thing is going to be, one, technology. Can you use AI, ML, etc., for how you deliver to the student? But more importantly, is your teacher, is your faculty a consumer of content or a creator of content? Your future competition is going to come from Coursera, edX, and the likes. So are you consuming Coursera and facilitating it? Or are you actually creating content on cutting edge platforms like Coursera? So I have told my faculty that, look, in the next 1 year, you have to not just consume Coursera, but you have to become creators of knowledge which is put on Coursera. And that is, I think, the test for all universities and all faculty. And if we can't do that, then we'll become second order in the value chain, but we all aspire to be in the first order of the value chain. So let's see what happens. Big regulatory changes happening. Disruption will happen with regulatory changes, and I expect that to be slow, but the next 10 years are going to be very, very exciting. Over to you, back to you, Karthik. Thank you.
No, that's right. And Professor Khosla, thank you for presenting such eye-opener cases. And definitely, with new education policy, we see some transition towards digital. But I think more if the industry adopts more technology, take it as strategic tool. I think regulatory initiatives will also be taken in that direction more. Again, I would like now request for initial remarks Professor Dr. Parvinder Singh, Vice Chancellor of Rayat Bahra University, Mohali. Your initial remarks, Professor Parvinder Singh, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karthik. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I'm audible, Karthik?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you
Properly.
very much. First of all, let me acknowledge my heartiest thanks to the organizer who had made a big effort to share the wisdom of very legends like Professor Atul Khosla, Professor Vikram Singh, and Professor Sancheti from the different parts of the country. And the theme of today, that's the smart room and technology-driven classrooms. That's really need of hour. And I think the time has come. The time has come, as Professor Khosla was saying, We cannot have the dinosaur universities, we cannot have the big fat universities which are spread on the acres of the land, and colorful buildings are not required. Globally, where we are, this is the one big challenge to the Indian universities and to the higher education, particularly in the perspectives of NEP, which we are launching, and there are so many verticals in the NEP, various dimension and technology-driven courses. This is one of the very important component. I think that can be linked with today's talk, that how far we see the technology-driven universities uh, in the light of NEP, because it is a time not to have the redesigning of our curriculum, but it is the digital derived, and digital revolution is required. That will be our future. So we need to have the problem solving issues only by the technology. So future is demanding to us, and to reconcile with the expectation of the future generation, it is important that we adopt the technology and we come up with new innovative ideas. So new startups are to be taken up, skill development courses are to be uh, considered on priority of pan India. So, but we can proudly say that it is a skill India, it's a digital India. So clarion call is required from this platform. Today is the right time that we take a clarion call, and so that we reach to the 5 trillion GDP as claimed by our Honorable Prime Minister. We are standing at a very watershed in this history. So machine intelligence, artificial intelligence, data analysis, so new technology, nanotechnology, only they can beat the pace of our uh, technology. So the digital technology is most visible. So it is globally, it has been accepted. Even we have adopted in last 18 months. The COVID-19 has given us a big challenge. We started with the interactive board. We shifted from the CD-ROM to the digital classrooms, media classrooms, and now we are thinking of the LED classrooms, smart rooms, or whatever name we may give. But I think the platforms like this one and other professional Dell Technologies and Coursera, DL, all we should have the collective responsibility, so that the educational technical reforms, so they become the continuous process. So what will be the challenge at the moment? That is the forced online teaching should be the curriculum. So shifting from offline to the not to hybrid but straightway to the online, and then the teacher training is must. The stakeholder, as Professor Khosla was saying, we need to look into the government regulation, legislation. And recently, when I was having discussion in the UGC, I said, let's not have the vice chancellor at the age of 60 or 58 with 20-year experience or 25-year experience. You need to have the digital leaders also, who can drive the universities on the higher side with the help of technology. So let's not be affecting the vice chancellor to have the access to tools, material, and technology. It will bring diversified threats to the vice chancellor and to his team is required. So these are my
Right.
primary remarks as you have asked me to convey. So I will be available for your discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you.
once again, I acknowledge my thanks to the organizer, and particularly to Professor Khosla, who is the mentor in this northern region. He has taken lead, and really one must see the efforts which he has put in for the Shoolini University in Himachal. So that's a role model university, and like others also. I haven't seen the Marwadi universities, and but it will be love to see. My humble request is, whenever we have this type of platform, there should be small clip of the university to which we are representing, so that the best of the best can be shared and it can be adopted all across the country. Thank you very much.
Right, Professor, and thank you. I think your remarks are well noted. And now I request Mr. Praveen Kumar, who is Field Marketing Leader in Client Solution Group in Dell Technologies. Praveen, we expect an industry perspective from you. How this digital classrooms and digital form, smart form of campuses can be a reality in full fledged in future. I would request for your inputs, Mr. Praveen Kumar, as initial remarks.
Hey, thanks, Karthik. Thanks for inviting me inside. Hope the audio is clear for you to hear.
Perfect.
And thank you, for inviting me in middle of this eminent panel. I was just taken away by some remarks from Dr. Vikas, who opened it up, and Professor Khosla as well. I think he stole my thunder, but anyway, I'll try to add. I certainly believe something where at the beginning of the pandemic, where everybody realized that there has to be some remote learning set up in each of your
Thank you.
institutions.
हे ऑन करून ठेव फक्त.
Okay, so when we are moving away from a remote learning process to what I believe is going to be the future, and we all in the technology world believe it's going to be flexible learning process. So this could be one pandemic which actually shed light on what could be possible, where we are, what should we be prepared for, but what lies ahead in the future, nobody will be able to judge at this point of time. So I believe institutions should be ready for a flexible learning process. Man is a social animal. He needs to interact with more people. Everything cannot happen virtually. You cannot bring laboratories to your home. You cannot bring the best in class professors and faculties like you to each and every individual's home. There's only so much you can do at a virtual level, right? And it's universities, schools, institutions, higher education specifically needs a lot of hands-on learning. The idea which we need to also focus is on how you continue the learning process both on campus and off campus. But technology has given a boon out here, even if a couple of people miss some classroom sessions, because I've seen a lot of people who are eminent sports person, but they have to skip certain classes now. Now this current virtual world has proven to them that you can go back always, refer to recordings on the LMS platform. You can always catch up to what is probably have missed. That's kind of good advantages also which is there. But this is Professor Khosla pointed out, there are this threw a light where several other edtech companies are actually leading the way and showing what could be possibly taught for students, which was not probably explored before. Now, this is a time when almost kids even from 6 years and 7 years have started learning coding. That's some of the new paradigm which is opened up. But what could possibly miss still in the virtual world is experiential learning, immersive learning process, which only institutions like you can invest on. I think that's going to be really, really key. How you continue to invest on your infrastructure to modernize them, make them smart. Gone are those days when you had smart campus just by biometric attendance and CCTV cameras. Now you need to have artificial intelligence and machine learning concepts within your institutions as well. And when students shift from their place of preference to your campus, there has to be a continuity in the learning process, continuity in what they do. So that's what I think will be the future of world. We always believe in a hybrid model and a flexible model. I think there's a lot more to discuss, but I'll put it back to you, panel. I think flexible learning is what is going to be the key going forward.
Great, great. You're right. I think because we already have huge campuses, I think, and if we are going digital, hybrid can also be one of the ways, prominent ways in future, and how offline and online education can be more digital friendly and can be more accessible, and that will also be a key for future. I will now request for initial remarks Dr. Sayalee Gankar, the Vice Chancellor of DY Patil University in Pune. Dr. Sayalee, your initial remarks, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for this panel discussion, and especially on digitalization and coming towards the education. I think when we look at a few important elements, where we say always that universities' strategic approach should focus on three important areas. And those pillars, I always say that one is excellence in learning, excellence in teaching, and excellence in curriculum. I think when having said this, one has to really quickly understand how well effectively we are able to implement those strategic approaches of university for teaching and learning process. So while going through this particular pandemic, where the issues were very high, students were not able to see. It was really tough time for everyone to go on platforms, right? It was really difficult. But however, at DY Patil University in Pune campus, we have digitalization in the campuses, especially in classrooms, right? But then the kind of easiness was not there. But today, if you look at it, the classrooms or these digital rooms are providing really a good support to the teaching fraternity, and that is really contributing a lot, because we know it very well that it's not only the delivery of the class, the theoretical sessions, but in those part the classrooms, I think the kind of modules which are created by our faculty members, right, or the contents which are created are really helping them a lot. Very nicely said that yes, there is a huge competition from the various the companies like the Coursera, edX, right, Simply Learn or the Byju's, and then Upgrade, all these universities. And not only that, now they're also talking about WhatsApp itself is a university, right? So I think to really make it, are we talking about content? Are we talking about learning modules? And then we are also talking about the connecting our faculties to the students, because at the end of the day, the students are going to be connected with the faculty members. So human relation, human touch is going to play a major role. So classrooms, I always look at it that it has become a wonderful resource where the faculties is at ease, because everything has gone on record, right? And they can use, access it, flip it as and when they require and wherever they are. So the role of the faculty member is enhanced and they are more empowered now. And therefore, these systems are playing an important role for the universities. However, having said this, as rightly said that the Coursera or other companies which are there, their contents and our contents are required to be mapped. We need to really work on it very effectively so that these technologies can help us to create our knowledge reservoir, which can really help students and faculty to work together. So the examples which have been stated here are very important, and I think that's the takeaway for all of us, that how well and how effectively we are going to have technology as a base in our university campus for these three strategic pillars. I'm talking about learning, teaching, right? And without that, it will be really difficult for us to come up into the ranking process which we are talking about. I'm more worried about QS ranking, and I think, and for that, I think we need to really work on these three important pillars, that is learning, teaching, and curriculum. So your curriculum, your time can be really invested so much into it that it will be outcome oriented and you can build the story for all your students. And that is with the help of these the technologies. And of course, the frameworks which are given by NAC and NBA and QS ranking, or even national education policy, when we are talking about interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary education, I think this bank is going to create major emphasis and inputs to move to the next level to all the universities. So I think this is really relevant. We need to really work on it. Maybe we need to modify it, because we started from Blackboard to OHP to LCD to digital, the boards in the classrooms, and now we're talking about having a latest technology, right? And I think that's going to help a lot to us. However, we need to also work on the giving the more of because engineering education or pharmacy are really facing challenges, because lab work is very important to them. So we need to really work on those areas. However, at DY Patil University, we have the in South Asia, we have our own medical simulation, which is with the help of AI. We are using it very successfully, and that's creating a wonderful impact. But I think these kind of technologies are very important now, and huge investment is required to be done into it, because the typical brick and mortar, and then what sir was talking about, I totally agree with him that yes, infrastructure in terms of technology is now very important to all of us. So thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Dr. Saili. And I think all of you have a consensus of one point that future is of technology, and more investment need to be done on technology more than in brick and mortar, because it is already done. Huge buildings we have, huge land we have. Now it's time to increase the investment, and there should be more inputs in technology. I would like to ask a question, and let me start with Dr. Vikas Singh. That technology is disrupting the world around us. So I would like to know that how well, as universities and institutes, are we responding to it, Dr. Vikas Singh? Uh, are we really responding well to this technology? Can we really see that technology is disrupting around us now?
It's not, Karthik, it's no more uh, technology disruption. Now it is a part and parcel of the entire, delivery system, as Dr. Sahali was mentioning. The teaching learning process, has to be remodeled around it. No one can, uh, even slow down the intervention or disruption of technology. We cannot think about, going back, from 3% of higher education students using online digital classes. We have moved from 3% in 15 months to 100%. Now, we are not going to go back to 3% or 10% or 20%. It's going to be a good mix. Mix means, very rightly mentioned, flexible learning system. So it's more like hybrid and flexible learning. It's not no more a technology disruption. Now it has to be technology driven, technology enabled. There should be lots of checks and balances, using technology. The student engagement is very crucial. Having interactive teachers which can keep the students engaged. Very interesting point raised by Dr. Sahili was regarding the engineering education, especially those laboratory experiments. Assessment is, I think, another crucial point which I believe, though we are using, proctored tests and such kind of tests, but I think a lot needs to be done. We have, new age education, new age learning systems, but we are still using those old age proctored examination system. So I think a lot of use of technology in laboratories, a lot of use of technology in assessment processes. we need to have we need to cover a lot of distance, using technology. So it's nothing like avoiding it. As I mentioned in my initial remark, there are 50,000 colleges, 1,000 universities, but it's no more a matter of choice now. Every institution, every university has to invest in this, in this domain. They need to train their teachers. They need to bring out the passion in their teachers. And as Dr. Khosla mentioned, the faculty, we are motivating the faculty members at our place also. You need to create content which is so engaging that the students can go back to that, content. It's not a 40-50 minutes class which you are doing for the sake of class. That will not serve the purpose. You should be able to load all those videos on your LMS system, and students can go back and see those videos. So quality of those videos, quality of that content has to match the quality which is delivered by Coursera and EDX and those platforms. So a good studio, good technology tools, smart classes, all this is a given thing. Students are not going to accept lesser technology driven thing, or lesser in quality, because they have experienced the best over the last 15 months. So challenge
Right.
is big, but we have to accept that, face that, and move in that direction. That's my
Right.
point on that.
Right, Dr. Singh. I think you're right at this aspect that even institutes have to be technology content generators now, and there should be future readiness in the institutes. I think I would like to ask on the same lines from Professor Atul Khosla that do you see institutes now realigning their vision, the complete vision of their organization, and enabling students towards skill development and future readiness? So, do you see such realignment now in the institutes, Professor Khosla? You're on mute, sir. Can you please unmute
I
yourself?
apologize. I apologize. So
Yes.
it's a great question, Karthik, and I would like to make uh, two observations over here. One related to the previous discussion, and one related to your question. I think the first is around infrastructure. I get extremely upset when I speak to friends around and they ask me, tell me more about Shoolini. Because the first question they ask me is, how much land do you have? I mean, and this must be true for every university, they'll ask me, okay, how much land do you have? How many acres of land do you have? The second question they ask you is, how much built up area do you have? And then they say, how many students do you have? I think these are three questions that typically most people ask, including regulators, by the way. So I think that's fundamentally going to change. That's the first thing I wanted to say. If there's X amount of money that you have, I'm going to push everyone as educators to say 90% of that invest in intangibles, invest in research, invest in technology, invest in things which are not brick and mortar. Brick and mortar is not the future. Yes, brick and mortar is needed. There is some human interaction needed, but great universities will not be built on brick and mortar. The best university in the next 10 years will not be Howard. I can guarantee it. I can write it down. It's an opportunity for us to create the next Howard, just like Google is the number one technology company, or Apple, and it is not IBM. The same thing is going to happen in universities. Having said that, regulation plays a big role. Regulatory entities take a little more time to blossom, as we've seen in banking. Typically, they're 10 to 15 years behind because regulation stifles innovation. That's typically how it works in any industry. So that's, I think, the first comment I'd like to make, that be the leader, invest in technology, invest in the usage of technology, and ensure that we can provide better learning in that context. Coming back to skills, I think that two sides of the same coin, but the first thing is about what skills does industry need. And I ran a small poll on LinkedIn, and I got more than 500 responses where I asked people, what do you think will be skills of the future? And guess what? Out of all the 500 responses I got, and these are CEOs, CHROs, professors, students across the world, I've got a community of around 1 million people that I speak to. Not one of them came back and said, the future will be driven by people who understand coding, White Hat Junior as an example. Or someone said the future will be people who understand AI. Or someone said the future of the world will be with people who know some of these technology skills of biology or data science or mathematics. 100% came back and said the future will be with people. The skills that we need will be empathy, communication skills, collaborative skills, ability to learn, ability to deal with failures, ability to interact with people around you. So I think that's the first message I'd like to give, that when we think about skills, please don't underestimate these skills. And as universities, we have not been able to provide these skills very well. So we need to make leaders, we need to make problem solvers. We don't need to create screwdriver mechanics. That's not our job. That's the job of polytechnics. So that's the first point I'd like to make, right? Yes, we need to tie with the Dells and the IBMs and give those technical skills. But if my student knows how to learn, if my student has the problem solving ability, they don't need my support. They can plug into Dell or IBM or any of those platforms, and they can get those skills on Hadoop and Python and the likes. So that's the first point I'd like to make when it comes to skills. Let's focus on building leaders. Let's make innovation part of the education system. And if that's going to be the case, then my students don't have to get into boring companies like TCS and Infosys and Dell. Sorry, Dell. You do not, apart from a few small jobs, most of your jobs are boring. They are standard coding jobs. We don't want to create those jobs. We want to build Tim Cooks of the future. We want to build Steve Jobs of the future. That's what we should be aiming for. And that'll come through innovation. That'll come through problem solving, language, learning skills. So now let's come back to other skills which are needed. I think it's very important that as universities, we also tie up with different providers who are experts in these areas. For example, a Dell or an IBM or the likes, Amazon, for example, where we can build technology inside the mindset of the students. So the future is going to be with people, with students, for example, who understand both technology and are comfortable with data. Whether it's a biology student, whether it's a history student, whether it's a English student, a liberal arts student, ultimately every student has to be comfortable with technology, just like communication skills are critical to succeed in the future. Ability to understand technology, ability to understand and assimilate with data will be very, very important, because these will be very, very critical things. So the point I'm trying to make is that
Right.
please don't underestimate the skills. We call them soft skills. I actually call them hard skills, because these hard skills are very, very difficult to give to students. So let's not underestimate these me and we skills, or the 10 skills that even the World Economic Forum is talking about for the skills of the future. Having said that, let's build technology and data as a central part of the education that we give to students. I think leveraging online platforms will be a phenomenal way to give these hard technical skills and embed them, because now I don't have to have all my professors deliver them. I can have tie-ups with all my different partners around, and they are so lovely. They are wanting to deal with universities. So I want to build a particular set of technology skills with students. Dell and others will be great for that. So let's aggressively tie up with as many people as possible to provide the skills. My last thought is going to be to my friend from Dell. I know you deal with educational institutions all the time, so you're a little, you know, you go with a midway path, hybrid yoga. You don't want to scare universities, but jug them out of their stupor, Mr. Dell, because the world is going to be around technology. You don't have to follow a path, midway path. Ki don't worry, hybrid yoga. Hybrid nahi hoga, yaar. बहुत डिफरेंट होने वाला है 10 साल में एजुकेशन. लिख के ले लेना. वी शुड नॉट बी प्लेयर्स जो गवर्नमेंट को अप्लाई कर रहे होंगे कि प्लीज प्रोटेक्ट अस लाइक द रिटेल इंडस्ट्री इज डूइंग टुडे. We should be guys who stand up and compete with the big digital players of the world, and that will only happen if all of us sitting in this room step up and fundamentally change ourselves over the next 10 years. Thank you, Karthik.
Right. I think I'll also take comment from Dell now, Praveen. But before that, I would like to ask you, Dr. Sayalee, when Professor Atul talks about this, that should be part, everything should be will be definitely technology and data driven. So here I would like to ask you that do you see that this technology education should it be structured into the curriculum of these institutes, or how well right now these tech education is structured into the curriculum, and how well it should be if it is not?
I think it's really important, because we all are focusing on the quality of education in terms of really competing with the world's best universities. Now, enough, we always talk about that what we have done in the past, right? But now the time has to come to deliver it, right? And if you look at it, we need to accept the fact that our education has to really re-engineer itself, right? The kind of world which is going to be there after 10 years or 20 years will be a totally different world. And for that, we need to train our student. And that's why in learning and teaching, we're talking about collaboration, right? This collaboration is not only delivery mechanism, but we need to be very good at partnering with our all stakeholders so that we can get the feedback. Today we are talking about education 2.0. In India, we are talking about industry 4.0. And when I was interacting with Birmingham University, the professor talked to me about industry 5.0. So I think the kind of vocabulary or the kind of change through which we all are going, we need to align ourselves with the world's speed and pace. If we don't do that, we will be again discussing about underdeveloping or developing country for infrastructure. And therefore, I feel that we have to, it's not only creation of infrastructure, but creating right skills for the upcoming area is very important. So when you look at it curriculum, of course, the National Education Policy 2020 is talking about three important areas. They're talking about exit policy, they're talking about multidisciplinary education, and they're talking about interdisciplinary education. So while implementing this from the next maybe couple of years, I think all the institutions, we need to gear it up in terms of designing the curriculum, right? It's not book based, but I think how we are going to use digital way of working, involving students in the whole process, right? Teaching them, training them, imparting them, inculcating the various attitude and the skills which are required is utmost priority. So not only the concept now, but we need to focus on the skills, and I'm more giving the attention or emphasize on technology. If we are not going to be the part of technology world, then we would be really facing enormous challenges. Today also, when we talk about improving the productivity or working on the cost of production or having the porter's model, I think that time we are not able to do it. The reason is our workforce is required to be tuned with the tomorrow's industry, and that tomorrow industry is required to be identify the educational institutions or the campuses and academicians like us, rather than what is happening right now is that industry is telling us what you want, what they want, right? And we are asking them, rather they asking us, we should provide them that. We should be more proactive with the help of the technological transformation what is happening in this world. If we don't do that, I think we will not be the able to create the future generation. And of course, with the skills what Dr. Khosla sir has said are very important. Every student, every faculty, right? Thank you for that COVID-19. I would like to say that on a positive note, at least because we were struggling to put faculties on ERPs and Moodles and then whatnot. But today, at least they started working on Zoom and they know that how to use the videos, right? So I'm sure that NAC and NBA will also change their framework, because now this has become daily activity, right? So if I want to talk to Khosla sir, I can immediately find out. I'm not worried about how to get his number. So we can easily connect. So we need to be very fast. The teachers, the vice chancellors, I appreciate the statement that why after 60 vice chancellor is required, why not at the early age, who is dashing, dynamic, energetic, ready to take the risk, right, ready to take the challenges. If we don't have those qualities, how are we going to impart to our future generation? And I think those kind of university cultures, partnership, collaboration are required with each other. And if we do that, of course, the technology will be the backbone for all of us and can really make the wonders for the Indian continent. And we can really compete to the world, to the rather than world, to the next competitor who is giving everything at the low price and dumping the products with the quality and low price, and we are not able to compete that nation, right? And we just say that we will ban them, we will put income tax, and will I think these are not the solutions. So let's have the competitive spirit within the system, which will be more proactive, more aggressive, more assertive, so that we can change the future of India. And I think that's what we all are talking about. So thank you so much for giving me opportunity. I went into my teaching mode, being a academician for so long time. But then I think I totally agree with all my senior vice chancellors and provost and the founder of the universities. Absolutely right. The time has come to deliver now, and I think we need to really pull our socks and do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Right, Dr. Sayalee, I think you have stressed on a right point that, and about this future of education. Praveen, I would quickly come to you on this. All these education leaders sound really optimistic and really positive towards the huge transformation, the quick transformation in terms of digital. They also talk about the need of collaboration, how right collaborations can pave the way, and how institutes can proactively connect with the industry leaders and solution providers. In this scenario, when you see such a response from education leaders, I would like to know your experience as a technology provider. What you have experienced with these in past also, if you can see, in terms of this digital learning in classrooms. I understand that Professor Atul says that it is the transformation needs to be done now. There's no hybrid. There should be direct transformation in digital. I understand, but how have you experienced over the past few years? What sort of trends and shifts Praveen, am I audible?
Hey, Karthik, sorry, I think there is some disruption at your side, but if the rest of the panel is able to hear me, I would like to take it up from there.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, for the eminent panel actually to share your views. This is quite turning out to be a good customer advisory council for me to take back a lot of inputs from all of you, and I'm really happy that Professor Khosla puts it in such a way that hybrid is not going to work. Let's go full swing on to complete digital learning experience. I completely agree with whatever you guys said. Dell, in its own vision, believes that we help you to advance what we believe is a human technology, and whatever we could participate, collaborate alongside you, we are the most happiest company in the world right now to do that. And customer-centric approach is in the middle of everything what we try to do. Of course, our current innovations are triggered towards providing a lot of institutions to have a flexible learning model and what we call it as a hybrid or whatsoever. But in the long-term course, we also take feedback from institutions like you. In case you want to go fully digital, go completely online, and very less physical presence, and constantly innovate yourself. We are there to help how you need to do. And of course, every university thinks in its own way. Sometimes it's a unique proposition. What I could also try to put across is technology is disrupting how we learn right now, online, video phasing, and so on and so forth. There are also possibilities of AI and ML based innovations which could drive or power this further. For example, you had one presentation before this panel discussion where one of our partners is actually providing digital examinations process, not just about proctored, but also capturing the whole answer sheets in a digital format. It flushes out the answer sheet to the evaluators quickly, and the scoring mechanism also happens quite faster. There's no more paper loss or anything lost in between in translation. That's quite an innovation, right? And that's innovations like that will continue to find its way in every aspect of your learning, which is absolutely right. And going online through an LMS portfolio, or not just LMS, even in terms of immersive learning, we call this as an immersive learning process. If the faculty decides to stay back in a campus or wherever he or she is, and whatever she is actually talking about physically, they are showing a demonstration. It can be streamed online. It can be recorded in a video for people to see later. It can also be a collaborative process. Some of the collaboration tools these days take instant feedback from people. They allow people to interact via the monitor itself. That is one thing really important. But we also see need for, from what our clients in some of the universities says, we also see need for investment of infrastructure requirements physically, where students can carry back what they had invested last year. Are they now allowed to carry the laptop back to school? If they are able to carry the laptops back to school or colleges, then how do I actually now get ready for so much of PowerPoints, or what do I do with them? What can I do further? So Dell, in participation with companies such as our partners such as Microsoft and Intel, we actually set up next generation laboratories, including AI and machine learning, which could be done on campus or off campus. It could be done that way. We bring in our expertise. We facilitate that investments on both the sides. That's something which makes your campus ready for the next few years. But I totally agree with what Professor Khosla said, that on the long term, it could disrupt the whole thing. where it could actually go completely digital way. That's for you to share with us. And thanks so much for sharing those inputs to us. We would love to see the way forward again, and we would like to partner each one of you in how you want to drive it, because you're the experts in your domain, and we could help you with our technologies, however you want to do it. The video which was played before is like, it's just not about computers, it's just not about PCs anymore. It's not about a data center. It's not about cloud technologies. It's all about human technology right now. How we progress, and technology becomes incidental in this entire path to it. So that's how we have positioned ourselves. I would leave to the other panel members with that particular note, and we'll come back again.
Right, right. Thank you, Praveen, for these insights. I would like to now ask a question from Dr. Sandeep Sancheti. Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, would like to know from you that what will be the key areas of focus for you in the next 6 to 12 months, which will allow you to foster, new ways to leverage technology to build campus more smarter and digitally enhanced. I know that you are almost digital in your operations, but how do you see the next 6 to 12 months to be more digital?
Sure. Karthikji, let me comment on some of the points which were probably made by other distinguished speakers also. So a lot of talk about the new brick and mortar. It's well known that the new brick and mortar possibly is the device, bandwidth, servers, data centers, better studio facilities, cloud-based services. These are new brick and mortars. But the newest form of that possibly would be the wearable devices, the wearable electronics, which every one of us can enjoy. The kind of folded screens, the LCD screens, which will be my workbench, which will be my table, which will be my examination book, which will be my library, which will be my entire resource. The other technology possibly would be, whether we like it or not, the holographic technologies, which will again bring you with eye-to-eye contact. And in that context, let me tell you that the human nature will not change easily. The technologies will change the conditions. Technology will change everything or anything. And in that context, I would like to say that while there were comments about the hybrid, the blended mode, the flexible mode, the hybrid mode, the high flex mode, these are all the new nomenclatures which are there. Broadly to me, they are same. And going by my experience, and I'm an electronics engineer, communication engineer, I know there were probably dozens of important models of communications which have come up, which have become the mainstay of our communication. They all find a niche application today also, whether it is equivalent of telegraphy or ham radio or whatever it may be, they all find a space. In the same way, I would say education will find all other potential things which were developed or going to be developed simultaneously moving around in helping the education. The education, already we know the terminology, education 3.0 and education 4.0, if I may touch on that. 4.0 is student-centric education. 3.0 was technology-driven education. The internet, the computers, the advent of that made it 3.0. So technology is already embedded. Only thing is we were resistive to it. Now we are not so. And therefore, I can say that the education 4.0 is going to be the student-centric education, meaning thereby we will not teach them what we want to teach them, but they will learn what they want to learn. That will be the change in the philosophy. But technology will be the mainstay, as you have said, and all of us have said, is because technology is probably, you can say, reliable, repeatable, reproducible, and technology will make them learn anything, anytime, anywhere, any mode, any language. And that is because we want to learn till we live. It's not going to be a very different life where you retire at 58 and 60 or 65 and hang the boots. No, you will continue to learn, and therefore the technology will continue to support. I will finally like to say that in Marwadi University, we already kind of the examination reform which was being suggested from the previous promotion, which was showcased, and Mr. Praveen also talked about that. We are already doing it. Everything which we do in examination, for example, would be known to our students exactly where they have faltered, what they have got, why they have not been marked, and they can take it as souvenir till whatever time they want to preserve it. It's available to them, and it need not be available to us. So those kind of reforms are required. Virtual labs or delivering library contents electronically for whatever it is required, I think are going to be very, very important in times to come. And we are working on those transitions slowly. So that's the update, or that's the
Right.
remark from my side. Thank you.
Right, Dr. Sancheti, thank you so much. Praveen, I would like to ask you an honest perspective. Do you think these university institutes are using the technology perfectly? Are they, better using technology to make it more enabler? So, what do you think could be done to, better enable these university institutes to work together with the industry? Are they really taking leveraging the industry well, to meet the needs of the future? What is your perspective?
No, I think it's a pretty good response so far from a lot of universities. How they responded in a quick note. I think a lot of guidance from eminent people like Professor Khosla. From what I'm hearing, is he's guided the way for a lot of universities across North India. I think some of these came across as a little surprise for few education institutes. They didn't know what to do, and they reached out to us, and we said, here's a few partners you can try through LMS platform if you want to, continue video conferencing. We partner with Microsoft to collaborate with Teams, meetings and other stuffs. We help them procure devices as quickly as possible. That was a stopgap. Immediately, how do we continue at that particular time ad hoc? I think in that response, it was pretty well done by several institutions. But I think there is a lot more to explore. Where we are right now in this country specifically is we don't have immersive learning experience much, where students who just not learn theoretically, but also translate into practical experience using machine learning and AI concepts, where we could actually now set up innovation projects within this campus itself. A lot of institutions are now tying up with uh, technology companies basically to set up innovation centers. But I think this 15 months has thrown up a lot of more possibilities which could be done, right? Everything could be basis on a virtual reality experience. What you teach in mechanical engineering or even computer science or data science, it could be felt, it could be touched. You can actually have augmented reality and virtual reality concept explaining to them how it works. There are devices right now which are AR and VR compatible, which could help you to just wear a glass and feel how probably the mechanical engineering concept really work and animation actually works, and so on and so forth. I think we have a gap to bridge out there, and companies like us, Dell, is more than ready to help you guys to implement it. I'm sure there's a lot more to do compared to rest of the world. We've seen other countries such as the matured markets actually going to the next level, where they kind of innovate right from high school onwards, and they set up centers to do that. There could be some possibilities in that line which we could do, and we will be ready to help any institutions which is looking forward to that arena.
Right, right. Thank you, Mr. Praveen. And now it's time for me to request for closing remarks from each panelist. And in your closing remarks, I will request you to share your mantras for future and scope of smart campus for outcome-based learning. So, while sharing your mantras, please give a closing remarks of 1 minute. I request for each speaker, and I would like to start with Dr. Sayalee Gankar. Dr. Sayalee, your closing remarks, please. Yeah, Dr. Sayalee, can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. Can you just repeat the question quickly? I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I request you to please give a 1 minute of closing remarks, and just that share a mantra of what mantra you would like to follow for future
Sure.
campus.
I think, of course, the digitalization, the digital classrooms, digitalization of education is very important. And for this, we need to really gear up the whole process. This helps faculty outcome and definitely the student engagement process. So let us do it very, very passionately to really create the future thinkers and future technologists for this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saili. Professor Atul Khosla, your closing remarks, please.
Thank you, Karthik, and great discussions. Thank you, everyone. My mantra, my future for Shoolini will be what I call a hub and spoke, a distributed model. So next 10 years, I'd like to build my hub around research, learning, technology. We've already got an edutech company, but I'd like to seed lots of spokes around the world. For example, I'm evaluating a technology office in San Francisco. So they would be in the form of small campuses, could be in the form of small offices or new universities. So I think that's one. So I see a hub and spoke to be the future. Having said that, I don't know what the future business model will be. So I will experiment a lot. So I will seed options across different models of education, different models of platforms, and that's what I would request every educationist to do. That we don't know what's going to happen in the next 20 years. We're still at the very cusp of innovation. We're at the very start of innovation. So keep experimenting. Don't overinvest in anything that we don't know what's going to happen in the future. But keep your ears and eyes open to be ready with any big changes that happen. That'll be my mantra for success.
Right. Thank you, Professor. And now I request Professor Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor of IT University, to please give the closing remarks.
Thank you, Karthik. I personally believe that number one, passionate teachers. I think very willing and passionate teachers is the first thing, because today students, it's very big challenge to keep students engaged. In that too, when we are not having face-to-face interactions, and we are going to move in that direction of online, digital, video-based education. So innovative learning models to keep students engaged, passionate teachers. And another thing is regarding the assessment, I believe rubrics based, technology enabled, you know assessment models are going to be the future. So technology, smart classrooms is the first stage. Training of teachers, getting students involved, and nice technology driven assessment systems is, I think, the future for next 5 years for higher education.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Vikas Singh. Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, your closing remarks, please.
Yeah. So technology has changed the world or the landscape of the world politically, geographically, financially, socially in last 200 years, but it did not do much to the education. So I would say, number one, education will also face or see the similar kind of change, which will be technologically driven. And therefore, change will remain constant at a high rate or high speed, and we should embrace it, number one. Number two, I would say that the degrees, diplomas, and whatever you call certificates, whatever name you can give, will be out of vogue, in my opinion. And you will only be working on the credits you have earned, which may be discrete, which may be having a lot of time spread, which may have a lot of diversity. So that's the second point. The third would be, even if you are fencing degrees, henceforth you will make your own degrees. You will choose the teachers, you will choose the subjects and contents, you will also choose the degrees. So degrees will be like designer's degree, and educational institutions can possibly be equivalent of boutiques who will serve you or give you the clothes or something of that nature on your demand and desire. So education will be demand driven, but also driven by the people as per their choice. So these are some of the things which are there. Already said about the high tech, like wearable devices, and those things will be the order of the day. You will be giving examinations which will not be written examinations, but more of spoken examinations may also come in. So like this, many fundamental shifts will come in the education because of technology. That's my take. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Sancheti. And before I request Mr. Praveen Kumar for closing remarks, I ask and I request my audience, the audience who are watching this program, to please fill the feedback form which is present in the platform. Please go there and please fill the feedback form so that we get good feedback of the session, and that we can share with our panelists as well. And now I request Mr. Praveen Kumar for a closing remarks, please, from Dell.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for inviting me in again. So I'm really happy with the way we discussed today, challenging the status quo as it is. and trying to embrace technology as much more. And I'm really, glad that most of you are ready to do it, and how we could help, we could explore further. Here's my take on this. As you proceed forward, I think a lot more universities and institutions realize that implementation of technology is definitely required, but maybe it is not in part of your core skill set. It's not part of your skill set to maintain a data center, to maintain a private cloud, and so on and so forth. And we at Dell Technologies, we believe one size doesn't really fit all. So our you would be trust in a partner, in one partner who could actually not only bring you the devices, but also help you maintain and manage them over a long period of time, and a partner who actually understands how multiple ecosystems can work together, because at the end of the day it's one single infrastructure with probably multitude of players coming in. A classic example would be like a company which presented earlier, one of our partners, Little More Innovation, which does digital examination. So Little More Innovations in collaborations with Dell, Intel, Microsoft together. And when Dell comes as a vendor to you, we kind of bring in the best in class of all the technologies which is possible amongst all of these companies and offer you in one bucket. And the owning up the infrastructure also can be done as a service, these days. So I think that's imminent. As you go take technology path, as you improve your infrastructure, trust in a partner who can actually understand the entire ecosystem, who can help you not just procure what you need, but also to manage it, because those core skill set may not be necessarily yours, or where you need to invest on human capital to do just that. Let it be on somebody who understands the whole thing. That's my closing note. Thanks so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen. And here we close the session. And before we close the session, I would like to present the token of gratitude to our speakers. We'll start with Professor Atul Khosla, founder and vice chancellor of Shoolini University. Thank you so much, Professor Atul, for sharing your wonderful remarks here. And may I ask my backend team to present these certificates of token of gratitude? Professor Atul Khosla, thank you so much. And Professor Dr. Vikas
Karthik and I will make one small remark. If you can send the contact numbers of each one of us, I'll truly appreciate it. Okay.
Surely, done.
Thank you.
We'll be sharing each of yours contact numbers to each
And
of
I'd
you.
love to get in touch with Praveen if that's okay. Thank you.
That will be wonderful. Professor Dr. Vikas Singh, Vice Chancellor, ITM University, Raipur. Thank you so much, Professor Vikas Singh. Dr. Sandeep Sancheti, Provost of Marwadi University, Rajkot. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandeep. Professor Dr. Parvinder Singh, Vice Chancellor, Rayat, Bahra University, Mohali. He just got disconnected. And Mr. Praveen Kumar, Field Marketing Leader, Client Solution Group, Dell Technologies. Thank you so much, Praveen, for giving such wonderful industry insights to us in this panel discussion. Dr. Sayalee Gankar, Vice Chancellor, DY Patil University, Pune. Thank you so much, Dr. Sayalee, for sharing your experiences here. And here we close this discussion on future of campus, role of smart and digital classrooms. See you soon, the eminent panelists and the audience, in some other discussion in future. Till then, we close the session here. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
We started with computers. We didn't stop at computers. We didn't stop at storage. We didn't stop at cloud. We didn't stop at wholly integrated intergalactic solutions. We kept going, working with our customers to enable the kind of technology that can guide an astronaut back to safety, or help make a hospital come to you instead of you going to it. And we didn't stop there. We're even working to make packaging that comes from waste instead of producing it. because we saw a world that was full of challenges and ready for solutions. So when it comes to your business, you know we'll stop at nothing.
On the floor and mellow yellow clouds in the morning. Turn another page, write your story. Chasing better days, not the glory. Don't flinch, don't blink, don't fear. Keep on, those skies will clear in the morning. Feel it every morning. East side to west side, I'm coming. Keep it together, play it right. This is how you come to.
Follow your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart. This is the start. This is the start. Follow your heart. Welcome to the future. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready.
Stars flickering on the floor and mellow yellow clouds in the morning. Turn another page, write your story. Chasing better days, not the glory. Don't flinch, don't blink, don't fear. Keep on, those skies will clear in the morning. Feel it every morning. East side to west side, I'm coming. Keep it together, play it right. This is how you come to.
Follow your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart. This is the start. This is the start. Follow your heart.
Thank you very much, all the audience, all the speakers for giving their precious time to this exclusive event, Future of Campus, Role of Smart and Digital Classrooms. So I would like to special thanks to Dell Technologies and Microsoft for bringing all our key stakeholders who from the higher education on the one platform, deliberating the innovations and the initiatives that are taking place in the higher education. So by this, I would like to request all our audience, please fill the feedback form. If you have any query, please drop your query on the feedback form so that we can get back to you. If you need and avail our solution, please post your details on this feedback form so that our team can get back to you. And if you have any other query regarding this summit, regarding this event, so please write it down at education@digitallearning.in so that our team can write you and can call you again through mail and through via WhatsApp. So by this, we will wrap this exclusive event. Thank you very much. Sabhi ko namaskar.
Welcome to the future. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. You're gonna wanna get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Get ready. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future. Welcome to the future.